Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey.
Yeah.
Look at G. Bush. Look
50
at the way
hours to kick off. I
Look
know,
at this
bro.
guy.
What's up?
Prom jacket G. Bush is in the building.
making the rest of us look bad, honestly.
Did you really wear that to prom or no?
No, I wasn't this big back then.
Did you go to prom?
No, I had surgery.
What? You had what?
I had surgery.
Like football? Because of football?
I had the calf surgery. So. Actually, did I tell you the story before? I have an extra bone that grows in my leg, right?
That's right. You did tell us
And
that.
then they took it out and grew back, so I couldn't go to prom. I went to homecoming.
That bone is determined.
Yeah, that bone will never come out. He's just like, no, I'm going to be here with you, like a stalker.
Wow, that sounds painful.
I mean, you're like a little bit of an alien, basically.
Yeah.
You got things growing inside you.
Yeah, and I don't drink milk. Went to the doctor. My mom tried to be like, you need, you know how parents are.
Yeah.
The reason your leg hurts is because you're deficient. And we went to the doctor. I was like,
Didn't drink milk.
you didn't drink milk. I go to the doctor. I said, my mom thinks I'm going to drink milk. I'm not going to do it because I was still this size. I was like, you can't make me. And the doctor was like, no, he actually has extra calcium in his body. He doesn't need to drink.
You don't need to drink.
So I'm buying
There you go.
calcium. Don't need to drink milk.
You had that covered.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. It's Friday, busy day. We have 90 minutes for you here on the YouTube show. At 12:30, we're slingshotting over to Channel 3. Here's how you can watch that. If you're in the Cleveland area or the Cleveland television market, you just turn to Channel 3. There we are. It's like magic. If you're outside the Cleveland area, and we know half of our viewers are, which is stunning to me, half of our viewers are from outside the state of Ohio. This show's global.
Yeah.
But here's how you watch it. You can very simply just put the WKYC Plus app on any smart TV. WKYC Plus. Download it, stream it to your TV. If you don't want to do that, or you're a little technology challenged, just go to the website, WKYC.com, hit watch now. That's simple.
Pretty
You can
easy.
watch us anywhere.
That's right.
Easy
Yeah.
money.
On today's 90-minute show, Tim Couch, Mary Kay Cabot.
No Mary Kay today.
Oh, Mary Kay's not today? Why do you think Mary Kay was today?
We have never talked about Mary Kay being part of the show whatsoever. On the TV version, on the
Somehow-
YouTube version.
Somehow I had Mary Kay Cabot in my mind.
Mary Kay was mentioned in our conference call.
Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe that's why.
She
Yeah,
was mentioned.
She was.
Yeah.
Tim's going to be here. Tim's been really good this year, breaking down
Yeah.
the Browns.
Yeah.
We're going to ask him his thoughts because we haven't talked to him since the great Deshaun Watson outing. We haven't
Yes.
talked to him about that.
That's true.
What was the difference? What made Deshaun Watson, Houston Deshaun Watson? And also, we've talked about this with Mary Kay and with and with Leroy this week, Aditi. How do you unlock David Njoku? He's still middle of the pack amongst all NFL tight ends.
Go ahead and tell us what you did when we had a
When
call.
Mike asked that question in our conference call, I laughed.
Yeah.
David Njoku is a nice NFL player.
Has he reached his full potential?
I just don't like.
Has he reached his full potential?
Yes, it's
Probably,
year
yes.
6,
No.
7.
So here's the
You
whatever.
question.
can't really unlock
If this
the player.
is all he is,
Yeah.
that's a big miss by the Browns. They're paying him to be a top 3 tight end.
At this point, I don't think he's top 3 tight end money.
Take a look. Take a look.
I think he was at one
when
point.
he
but
signed
take a
his
look.
deal, he was 3rd. Now, I think there has been 1 or 2 tight ends since then signed for more. The fact of the matter is, he has been a woeful underachiever. Or is this who he is?
This is who he is.
If this is who he is, and like I said yesterday, we've got a large enough body of work to think that this is exactly who he is. The question is, what does Kevin Stefanski need to do to get him more involved and be the productive player that they're paying him to be? When your performance doesn't match your paycheck, that's a big problem. And his has never really matched his paycheck. So we're going to talk about that. And also, we want to know, we're going to talk about this in the 30-minute show, so I'm not going to tease that yet. I am going to say this. The 30-minute show that we have for you, there's content in there that we haven't done all week. In fact, and this is, I think, going to be the hottest thing that we talk about today. Right now, Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
That's what's going to be the first topic in our WKYC show at 12:30 on Channel 3. So you'll definitely want to make sure you check that out.
I have the numbers, by the way.
Where is he right now?
At this point, we can't complain. He is although I guess we could, he's the 8th highest paid tight end per year.
He's the 17th in terms of this year yards per game. He's 17th.
Yeah.
So we can still complain. And we
can.
will. Even
but
if
we can't say
couldn't,
top
we
3
would.
anymore.
Yeah, he's top.
By the way, Taysom Hill is the 13th highest paid.
So you're counting him?
No, that.
Well,
he's
no,
13th.
13th.
Okay.
Listen, that's still crazy. He played like 5 snaps a game. I need that contract.
Yeah,
By the
no
way,
kidding.
here are the 7 guys being paid more than David Njoku.
Let's hear it.
T.J. Hawkinson, Darren Waller, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews, and Evan Engram. All clearly better.
All are clearly better.
Yeah.
No question, in fact. When they made him the 3rd highest paid tight end, we all were like, we didn't get it. I don't understand. Somebody sees something in him that we don't.
I think they knew that the cap was headed where it's headed, and that played into it as well. And so it looked outsized at the time, as both pointing out. It's not as outsized now as it was when he signed it. We're kind of doing the Njoku topic now. I don't know if that was the...
No, that's not. We're going to come back to that.
All right.
But first, let's say our first hello of the day to Mikey McNugget. And I'm only laughing because now I can't see you without your face being chicken skin tinted and your face inside a nugget.
He is miserable about this.
I know he is.
That's not miserable. That's a gross over-exaggeration.
No, he is. And if he would get over that, it would eventually go away.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace the McNugget life.
Listen, I have been a McNugget now since May 11th, 2022,
Facts.
and it's not going anywhere. Trust me,
I
I'm
know,
not
but
running away
now
from
more
the
than
McNugget
ever.
name.
Can we show the graphic that the viewer made that made all of us chuckle?
Yeah, we'll have to put it in tag board. We got to
Okay.
get it ready.
It
But
is so-
we can pop that up later.
It's so good.
It was good, and actually, shout out, it was Creative Juice, who's a paid member in the chat every day.
Great.
He emailed us right after the show, like, hey, I work in graphic design, had a few minutes, I whipped this up. And is it exactly what
It's very good. what
Steve
you were
Becker
looking
had
for.
asked for earlier? I'm not sure it's going to replace the actual nugget on the graphics,
Oh,
but it did
has
make us
to.
all laugh.
I don't know how it does.
It did make us all laugh, so Anthony will pull that up here in a little bit.
Because a lot of people see that and they're not sure. Some people told me it looks like a hash brown, and I kind of think it does.
I'm not sure my face on it makes it any more clear what it is. to be
Oh, it
completely
makes
honest.
it
So,
crystal clear to me.
we do have to give a shout out and send our prayers to Nick Chubb, by the way. G. Bush talked about the surgery he had that kept him out of prom. Well, Nick Chubb is undergoing surgery today on his injured knee in Cleveland. So prayers up for Nick Chubb. Hopefully it is a successful, easy. Successful is the right word for a surgery?
Sure, no, yeah. You can go in.
successful
Well,
surgery.
here's the thing. There's the possibility that there's more damage than they saw on the MRI because the MRI obviously was taken at a time where there was a lot of swelling. And sometimes when doctors go in, they find a surprise that they didn't expect. Let's just hope that the ACL is intact. And it
But
was
we
just
never
the
hear
MCL.
a report later saying unsuccessful surgery.
Actually,
on a
Odell
player.
Beckham, OBJ had one.
He did.
His usually your ACL. I don't know if they do cadavers anymore.
Well, it's
or
up
they
to
take
it's
his
up to
hamstring.
the patient.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always had cadavers, but on that note,
I did too.
The second ACL replacement I had,
Well-
my body rejected it,
And it deteriorated, right?
I went in for just a routine knee drain, and when they started draining the fluid, it was yellowish green. And I immediately said, "What's that?" And the doctor said, "You're coming back in tomorrow for emergency surgery. You've got an infection."
You know, on the Odell thing specifically, I heard that his right knee surgery didn't go well, and when that happened, the right knee showed a video of the left knee getting too much work. And the left knee was getting all the targets, and the right knee was pissed.
Yeah, that happened. That happens a lot. Like when you get
I think that
surgery.
fell flat, Bull.
Yeah.
Did.
Yeah.
It was a nice effort,
Yeah,
but it's an absolute crash and burn.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to do a read before we dive in?
We do, guys, and before we get to our first topic of the day, which involves Deshaun Watson's right shoulder, I want to tell you that if you're ever in the unexpected situation where you need life-saving antibiotics on the fly, you got to hit up Jace Medical. The Jace case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, giving you the peace of mind that you have access in an emergency situation at the tip of your fingers. Jace Medical makes sure you'll get that medication. It is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery, ongoing consultation, and care. So don't get caught unprepared. You can get $20 off these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That is JASEmedical.com, promo code locked on.
There you go. All right. We're going to start today with a sore shoulder. And it's not just anyone's sore shoulder. It's Deshaun Watson's sore shoulder. Did not throw Wednesday. Did not participate in practice. Yesterday he was on the field. He participated. He threw the ball, but it was described, I believe, as very light.
Light and limited.
Yeah, light and limited.
That the reporters use.
That's kind of a red flag, obviously, because it's a throwing shoulder. Are you guys concerned? Where are you on the concern meter about
Jason,
this?
have you been to camp practice this week?
Yeah, I was there Wednesday.
Is there any real concern?
No, I don't think so. Let's wait and see how he plays on Sunday. But I know he hasn't played a ton of football on the field the last couple of years, but he's still been throwing. It's not like he hasn't thrown a football. He's certainly been out on his own, throwing to receivers, throwing the offseason. So it's not like he's coming back from surgery type thing where he wasn't able to throw. I think it's minor at this point. Let's wait and give it a game and see if it's anything more concerning after that.
Hopefully you can give us clarity on this. I'm assuming that this is from a hit, from an injury. But I don't know that it's not from throwing fatigue, which is clearly a thing.
Yeah.
Can you clear that up?
No, unfortunately, no. I talked to him briefly after he did his scrum Wednesday.
Yeah.
But it didn't come up.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't.
There is a difference.
Sure.
Throwing fatigue, obviously, is a real problem.
Yeah.
If it's throwing fatigue, that's like asking a pitcher to go out after he's thrown 100 pitches and pitch on a day short rest. You can't. That's difficult. If it's painful to throw, I was led to believe by the guys upstairs, the producers that were out there Wednesday and Thursday, that this was more from a bang that he took in the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I think, obviously, the scary thing for me is it puts a bullseye now on that right shoulder. You know how defenses love to target wherever there's an injury on a player. That's their target zone. I think it could become an issue moving forward if teams start to target that shoulder. But right now, because he was able to throw yesterday and because there doesn't seem to be major panic coming out of Berea, I'm okay for now.
The one thing I guess I would circle or flag on this is, when they started reconstructing this offense, they didn't really want to expose Deshaun to a lot of hits. Like the Jalen Hurts comparison came up as like, don't really want that. We don't need that. We need more pocket Deshaun, throwing Deshaun. Well, that really hasn't been the case.
It has not.
He has run a lot through these first couple of games, partly because he was struggling to throw the ball in the first two. So he has been moving a lot on his feet, and I just wonder now with this if they try and get him back to obviously the line has to protect him.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if they scale back a little bit on the run game because that was the original plan, was to not have him run as much as he has.
Right, but if you do take that weapon away, that does become a problem.
Yeah, I don't know that you necessarily want to take it away. I just don't know that you want him running as much as he's been running a lot.
He's still going to run, you maybe call less plays for a run, but he's still at times going to run because that's his instinct.
Absolutely.
And has to be better at getting down before contact.
It feels like they've had, and I don't have it in front of me, maybe I should have looked it up. It feels like they've had a lot of called runs for him. A couple of games.
Yeah, they've been in there for sure.
I can tell you. Give me 1 second. Give me exactly.
All right.
Well, you're going to know if they're called runs?
Yeah, you actually can sort that according to PFF. PFF's advanced stats this year have taken a gigantic step forward. I can tell you exactly. And by the way, designed quarterback runs versus scrambles coming up in my 5-piece of McNugget stats to know.
Oh, nice. Nice. In case you don't know what that is, 5-piece is, we're going to do it every Friday. It's McNugget's 5 stats that we have to know before we watch the game. So enjoy a 5-piece coming up later in the show.
He's run the ball, by the way. No, that can't be right.
Okay, so according to PFF,
15 times.
He has 16 carries this year. 8 have been scrambles. 1 has been a QB sneak. And that means 7 have been design quarterback runs.
Okay.
All right, so a couple of games.
That's
a couple of games. It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
And man, he's gonna have to do his thing. Hey, look, we was on Baker Mayfield when he hurt his little shoulder, right? We was like, we didn't care about that. Like, you better get out here. I don't feel either you ready to play or you're not ready to play. So sometimes it's like, all right, we on Baker for it, and people keep saying, well, why do you keep going back to make the comparison? First of all, people, stop being outrageous. You act like you can't. If you hear one man's name, you just pass out. Like, oh my God, Baker, you compared anything to Baker? Yeah. I'm just shut up. I'm just trying to let you know how to say shut up.
For whatever it's worth, It's not a huge variance. He through 3 games, it's his lowest rushing attempts per game of his career.
He's not even running like that.
So again, it's not a big variance. His career is 5.1, 6.2, 5.5, 5.6. Last year was 6. This year it's 5 right now.
And like y'all said,
right in line.
You know, when you lose your running back and you use half of your offense, man, it's all hands on deck. If we need him to get a first down, he got to get that first down, dog.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you got to slide, dive, whatever it is.
I would like to see him slide a little bit more. I just feel like he's not running to contact, but there's contact there. And, you know, that's a $240 million Lamborghini. You like to stop behind the stop sign, not kind of roll through it.
I think we all agree you want him to slide, but, you know, in the heat of battle,
I get it.
you know, I'm never going to criticize the guy for trying to get more yards. He's got to be smart about it. He's got to know the situation. If it's a situation where, hey, this is 4th down, I got to get a first down and the game's over, you got to do what you got to do.
But to G. Bush's point about making a comparison to Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield ran to contact when he never should have, and he was never the same after that injury.
Now, here's the thing. I'm a firm believer quarterbacks after throwing interceptions should just walk off the field. If they run that back,
stop.
That's how guys get hurt all the time.
All the time.
That's how Baker got hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they be waiting for you. They like, it's an instinct. They're like, okay, well, blindside hits. Guess what? If I blindside your quarterback, that's only 15. I can't even get kicked out of the game for that. So if I could take your quarterback out, but he's trying to make a feeble tackle, now his defensive lineman can hit you. The protections are off. Stay inside the country. Do not go abroad. You have protections here.
Yeah.
But
smart.
But they will kidnap you guys.
Yeah, they will. They'll body snatch you real quick.
They've been trying to get a J in a minute. We got us a Jay Crawford over here.
Got a free shot? I'm going to take it.
I'm taking that.
The one thing that I think we talked about a lot in the last couple of weeks about Deshaun is we've tried to figure out what was different between his first 2 performances this year and last week's performance. I wonder how much of that has to do with the pressure he's getting, because we really haven't talked about that part of it. We know that Pittsburgh certainly got after him. I think Cincinnati did a good job of getting after him. The Titans didn't really seem to get much pressure on him.
Well, and they have the worst secondary of the 3, too.
No, they do, and I know we talked about how that impacted Deshaun, but what about a clean pocket Deshaun? Like, I don't know if you've got numbers from PFF on that.
We do.
What's
Steve,
his percentage with a clean
pocket? Give me 19
pocket?
real quick. You'll see that it's quite different. Now,
Every
different. Quarterback is quite different.
Sure
Obviously,
it
under
is,
pressure,
yeah.
But you can take this false. This is Deshaun in 2023 with a clean pocket
Look at he has that
under
graphic
pressure.
ready to go. Good job, guys.
Yeah, pretty significant difference.
Now, there is, like to Mike's point, there always is. I mean, but
for most guys,
the 72.6 in a clean pocket,
That's terrific.
it feels like that's
elite.
above league average with
it
a clean
is.
pocket.
Yeah.
So I think there might be something to that, guys. And to your point early this year about the left tackles are going to be a problem all year, just imagine what he could do behind an offensive line that you had complete faith in, with both tackles being able to support Deshaun Watson and give him a clean pocket. I think based on this graphic right here, part of the game plan has to be moving forward. If you keep extra guys in to chip or whatever you need to do to help keep him upright and clean, that's priority 1.
I mean, they've had pressure from interior as well. Like, it's
They
not
have.
just the tackles.
No, you're right. You're right.
The guards have, Batonio struggled at times. Wyatt has struggled at times. Like, it's coming from, there's leaks in the dam.
But I wonder, though.
But it's only a couple games.
I wonder if it's coming from the inside, G. Bush, because teams have realized you're not going to get home, or it maybe because they're giving so much help to the wings that the inside becomes softer. Is that the case?
I thought DeJuan Jones, he had the highest grade out of everybody on our line.
I think I mentioned Monday, he did not. I noticed Wyatt didn't have to help him as much in getting lined up. I think I said that on Monday's show. If I didn't,
so maybe he got in the playbook a little bit.
Because it was noticeable. He was still helping, but it wasn't nearly as much as it was in Pittsburgh.
And like he said, Joe Batonio had like a 50 or something. Like, Simmons is a monster. Like, Simmons was in the backfield, and Deshaun Watson last game had one of those moves where he just shrugs them off. I don't know. It just seems like he got grease on his legs or something. He shrugged a couple guys off and threw the ball, and he's looking downfield. So The Tennessee Titans, people say what they want. They got a good front. They got traditionally a good defense. He made those throws and made those plays. I think the great part about it is I feel like he's got the cape. He understands. It's a thing that Stefanski can talk about it. And sometimes when you game planning, it happens like this. You talk about success. You talk about throwing anticipation, feeling like, hey, just trust what we're doing. It's going to break open for us. And I think him and Stefanski finally saw that breakthrough where it was like, wow, we got this on tape. We got this on film now.
Right.
So now we can add some different things to it.
Couple of things. First of all, I got confirmation just now that Watson did hurt the shoulder on a hit in the game.
So it was a hit.
So it's not arm fatigue. Number two, whenever we have conversation about sacks, we and everybody else is guilty of this too. We always blame the offensive line.
Right.
When often sacks are on the quarterback.
Yep.
Now, I don't know, PFF I'm sure has it somewhere.
Yep.
I know
I have the week 2 stats, excuse me. I haven't gotten week 3. I could look those up, but the 6 sacks,
what percentage of the sacks are his fault?
of the first 6, 4 were credited to the quarterback, 2 were credited to the offensive line.
Yeah.
See, and we never talk about that.
Yeah.
Everybody just blames the offensive line. Often, the sacks are the quarterback's fault. And look at that. Week 2, 4 of the 6 were his fault.
Yeah.
I went back and watched all 22 of the Pittsburgh Steelers game.
Yeah.
To kind of figure out, like, why did you play that well against Tennessee, but against Pittsburgh? And there were times where he'd have guys coming open, and they'd be open, but he didn't trust it.
Right.
Like, he not throwing with anticipation or looking for a bigger chunk play instead of taking the stuff that's available. And he did that 4 or 5 times where he could have had guys and put it on the receiver and let him run after catch. But he wasn't confident in throwing it with anticipation. So holding the ball is part of the reason why sometimes quarterback gets sacked.
That's right.
And they see ghosts sometimes. They roll out of the pocket for no reason instead of stepping up and just throwing the ball, and they run right into a sack.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, now we know that it was injury based. Like I said, the producers from Channel 3 told me that they were of the idea that it was from a hit that he suffered in the game. I mean, that Baltimore's they're not stupid.
Oh yeah.
The head of the beast kind of thing. They're gonna try to target that shoulder as much as they can, and that of course puts even a higher premium on the offensive line, buying them time and keeping their quarterback clean, upright, and on the field. Before we go to Njoku, you got to read, right?
Last thing, Mike.
Yeah,
Because I texted Cleve TA, who has his own analytics site. I don't know, you know him.
I didn't know he had his analytics.
He has his own site, and I said, how much is Watson to blame for his sacks? And he just gave me a quick answer. He said, Watson is usually pretty high, and this year is no exception. He ranks in the top 10 of quarterback responsibility for sacks.
Well, and to that
And
point,
a lot of running quarterbacks are near the top.
Your statues, they're not scrambling, they're not moving out of the pocket
Right.
and going into a sack sometimes.
And to that point, this is where the linemen had an adjustment to make coming off Jacoby last year, because Jacoby was getting it out faster, and Deshaun wants to hold a little bit longer to make the big play.
Sure.
And the linemen were telling me it was with Jacoby, and this isn't a complaint, it was just an adjustment. It was 1001, 1002, the ball's out. With Deshaun, it's 1001, 1002, 1003. Oh my God, where is it? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
And so it's an adjustment for these guys to make. And I think that bears out a little bit in the numbers.
Yeah. Sure.
Real quick, before we get to Njoku, then Tim Couch, Deshaun Watson's average time to throw this season is 3.14 seconds, which
That's
ranks
high.
as one of the higher,
that is.
more time to throw, and that's partially because he scrambles, extends plays, but
Sure.
it is not like he's under immediate pressure. 2-minute warning post-game show. Myself, Earl G. Bush, happens this week. As always, kicks off with a 2-minute warning. We'll be going live with either reaction, a celebration, or therapy. Whatever happens on Sunday, myself, G. Earl, will be breaking it down for you guys on Sunday. Quickly, before we bring in Tim Couch, David Njoku. How can the Browns help unlock their highly paid tight end?
Yeah. Talk briefly about it.
When Mike asked the question originally, it was, do they need to make a point of getting David Njoku involved?
Yeah.
And I almost never think that makes sense with any player, let alone a guy like David Njoku. Like, if you have Tyreek Hill, or you have Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, an absolute superstar player, you want to get those guys involved because they're elite talents. But Amari Cooper is the Browns' best player on offense. The other guys are all in the same boat, to me, of either unproven or average. And so I'm never going to make a point. Why would I make a point of getting David Njoku involved over Elijah Moore or over Donovan Peoples-Jones or anybody else? Now, I think naturally he would be a target in the red zone, and he really hasn't been this year. He doesn't have any touchdowns through 3 games. But I'm not going to force it, guys. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, if you want to rely on the numbers, Njoku's best month in his career has been October. He's got more catches and more yards in October than any other month in the games on October 1st. And he has his best numbers against the Ravens in terms of targets and yards.
Interesting.
So, I mean, obviously it's a divisional team. He plays them more than anybody.
Right.
But that's his top team in yardage and targets. So
you're saying he's going to have a big game this week?
Is by his standards, like, you know.
Well, Leroy made a great point earlier this week. He said part of the reason that, I think it was Leroy, he said part of the
Mary
reason.
Kay. I know
was it
you
Mary
remember
Kay?
that. Yeah, Mary Kay.
It was Mary Kay. You're right. Part of the reason that his production is down is because he's been asked to stay in and block as that chipper a lot more. And that, of course, keeps him from running routes, and that, of course, keeps him from catching passes.
If he was to get spot shadowed like Harrison Bryant, it seems like they got the roles remixed. Like Harrison Bryant running sneaks, he getting, you know what I'm saying, like this dude is getting 5 wide touches and everything. I really think when you talk about offensively, right, offense and how productive you are a function of opportunity and scheme. Now, if you said we're going 5 wide, why would I look at David Njoku? I'd rather throw the ball to Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. And then when you go with your bigger packages, he's the best blocking tight end you have. So if you're gonna say, okay, we got 2 tight end packages, we're gonna put one of you in a route. Well, I'm gonna put Harrison Bryant in the route because I need to keep you in to help with the tackles.
Yeah, but if David Njoku were that good a pass catcher, they would. Travis Kelce might be a better blocker than whoever their second tight end is.
But that's Kelce.
Okay. So T.J. Hawkinson.
Okay.
Evan Ingram. He might be the best blocker on the Jags. I'm still sending him out.
Well, it's not.
So I think that's an excuse.
I'm not saying not saying that he's the second coming of Ozzie Newsome. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I am saying though is there are times when you see those other guys and you see them spread out. Like I'm going with 2 receivers, but I'm standing up and spreading out my tight end so I could get a mismatch on a linebacker. You don't really see that. Like, and plus, you would think that he's a red zone target. We don't use him in the red zone.
Right, they haven't. But here's the bottom line, guys. The reality is there's not that many tight ends that make a huge impact in terms of catching passes.
Which is why they gave him the contract they did. It's a supply and demand issue where there's just not a lot. If you didn't like the contract and you wanted to move on from him, well, what are you going to do? Austin Hooper couldn't run more than 3 yards without falling down.
Hooper was
He's a perfectly
Harrison Bryant's a career
decent
backup.
NFL tight end.
Yeah.
He's a decent player. We thought with the fact that he was drafted in the first round, the fact that he has great athletic ability, and the fact that they paid him at the time a lot of money, maybe we all thought that there was more there. But I just think we got to realize, hey, he's going to have a couple of games here and there where he puts up good numbers. And most of the time, it's going to be what it's been. 3 catches, 30, 40 yards.
Look, season 7, he is what he is at this point.
You sound like
it's not terrible.
You sound like the guys, and I agree with you. You sound like the guys who do fantasy. When you talk about tight ends, there's 3 game changers.
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys are going to have 1 or 2 games here or there where they blow up a little bit. Other than that, he's perfectly serviceable.
2 years ago, he had the incredible catch at L.A. against the Chargers, catch and run touchdown. Last year, it was the Bucs to send the game to overtime. Incredible catch in the end zone. He's good for 2 of those a year.
Yeah.
1, 2 of those.
He also
those
dropped the ball in the end zone against New
the
Orleans
Saints
that led to the
cost
loss.
He's a useful player. He's not useless, but he's not great.
I think that because of the amount of money he was paid at the time, now since it's been eclipsed by a number of guys.
Right.
But when they made him the 3rd highest paid tight end, I think that automatically raised the expectations from fans that, okay, well, let's get that.
And it never happened.
Performance.
And he is what he is. He's a decent player, solid player. Nothing wrong with him. He's a starting tight end in the league. There's certainly not 32 tight ends better than him. I don't even know if there's 10 better than him. I know he's 17th right now in yards, but I don't even think he's probably somewhere around that 10th best tight end.
But
that's fine.
I will say at the owners' meetings
in
March, I was talking to another team just about the Browns and business and Deshaun fully guaranteed contract and everything. And the first name that got brought up, well, not just Deshaun, the Njoku contract.
Yeah.
So other teams saw it and rolled their eyes at it.
It was. But look, the Bears did basically the same thing with Cole Kmet this offseason.
Well,
and
we don't
he's
want
not
to be
any better
compared,
than Njoku.
but we don't want to be compared to the
Right,
Bears.
I hear you. Hey, listen.
Let's be compared to the Chiefs.
When it comes to the money is just it's not monopoly money, but it is like it's that person is never going to be worth what it is. Like the people at the top of the food chain in sports, like say for instance LeBron. You can't quantify how much LeBron is supposed to get.
He's underpaid.
By a
He's
lot.
underpaid.
He has been his whole career.
He's underpaid.
Underpaid. So
If he were playing soccer in Europe, what would he like be? And he was the equivalent
$100
player.
million a year.
Probably more than that, right?
I had a conversation with him one time about
Yeah.
that. About is he worth $100 million a year? Of course, he thinks he is. Yeah.
Well, I do
Of course.
too.
Get $100 million a
100%
year.
is.
Yeah. Of
Especially in basketball, where one great player makes such a difference.
Yeah.
All right, we have Tim Couch before we
Yeah.
do it. Mikey's got to read.
Yep, we'll bring in Tim in 1 sec. Before we do that, I want to remind everybody that after Monday's show, Monday, no change to the show, 11 to 1 o'clock, right here, full Ravens breakdown. But from 2 to 4, we are live. This YouTube channel, it is on the public. You don't have to be a member. Anyone can watch. We are live from Cavs Media Day. Myself, Brad, Earl, and a bunch of Cavaliers players will be getting you ready for the upcoming basketball season. It's going to be late, and the barbershop is later that night.
Yeah, yes,
we had a little mix-up last week. G thought Media
Yeah,
Day was this
right.
or the previous week. G will be on the barbershop at 6 to 7 that night, so a full day of UCSS content coming to you live on Monday. 2 hours here, 2 hours at Cavs Media Day, an hour at the barbershop, and now we welcome in our quarterback, our QB1, the one, the only, Tim Couch.
Jimmy.
Tim.
What's up, guys? What's
Great
up?
to see you, man. We want to start with what was different for Deshaun Watson in Week 3. What led to that breakout performance?
He just looked more comfortable to me. You know, I think he was much more decisive with the football. He had a very good understanding of what he was seeing, what the defense was doing, where he needed to go with the ball. The ball was coming out a little quicker than we normally see with Deshaun. You know, and the receivers did a great job of getting separation, getting open, and catching the football. So it was just a really good performance offensively. I think one that was very much needed, not only for the fans to see, because they hadn't seen it so far out of Deshaun, but for Deshaun mentally, you need one of those games to get you going. You know, he hadn't played that well since he's been with the Browns. He probably feels like his old self now. He's probably thinking, you know, now I got some momentum. Now I'm starting to, this offense is starting to click with me. I'm starting to click with Stefanski, his play calling and what he wants out of me from each play. So, you know, I'm sure Deshaun feels a ton of confidence going into this game against Baltimore, as he should. He played extremely well last week, and, hopefully he can just keep that momentum rolling into this week.
Tim, Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson played 8 games with Nick Chubb and never looked good. He played 1 game without him and looked good. Is there anything that, in Houston he never had a feature back? And I would never say you don't want Nick Chubb because that's insane, and it's 1 game, which makes it even crazier. Is there something to that feature back not being there that you can connect to his performance, or is it just a coincidence?
Yeah, I would say just more than anything, I think Deshaun just realizes how much he has to step his game up, with Nick not being in the lineup. I think it would be crazy, I think, to think that taking that type of player out of your lineup would benefit anyone,
right.
Much less the quarterback. I think you always want that running game, that guy who's going to take the pressure off of you from a quarterback standpoint. But I think it's just more of Deshaun saying, all right, our best player is out. I've got to be better. I have to be better in the passing game because obviously the running game is going to take a step back without one of the league's best backs out there in the backfield. So I got to be better as a quarterback. I got to get the ball out quicker. I got to make quicker decisions. I got to anticipate throws. I got to take care of the football. And I think that was probably his mindset going into that one.
Tim, I wasn't supposed to do this. I wasn't even supposed to ask this question, but I'm going to mess up the rundown and ask it. We talking about Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. Today, if you had to choose one moving forward as your quarterback, who would it be?
Man, that's a tough one. If I had to pick today, I'll probably take Lamar Jackson just because I've seen such a, much more of a body of work out of Lamar. And, I know kind of what he's going to give me. Deshaun, since we've seen him come back from the suspension, it's just been so inconsistent, so up and down. And I know Lamar is going to be a consistently good player. Probably at this point, I'm taking Lamar, but I think Deshaun has a huge upside. He can get back if he can get back to that level he was playing at when he was with the Texans. Then I think you have a serious debate. But I think as I sit here today, I'd have to go with Lamar.
Way to be a no fence rider on that, Tim. You
dove right in.
Said it with your chest. That's what I like.
Yeah. You know?
I thought Mikey was going to get me killed with that question, so I'm going to use you as the meat shield. I'm going to put you out in front of me.
We're asking you that later.
Yeah, get your
I agree with Tim. Tim said it, not me. Tim said it. Hey, the play with Deshaun where he just turned around and panicked and threw it 15 yards behind him. As a quarterback, how does that happen? What happened there?
You know, I don't know. You know, I think you never know what's going through a quarterback's mind at all times. You know, I think he just, like you said, I think the biggest thing was he just kind of panicked and didn't, and just kind of lost track of what he was doing. And I think all quarterbacks, you know, if you watch games throughout the league each week, you know, you see quarterbacks just make those plays where you scratch your head, like what the hell is this guy doing? But you know, it just happens sometimes. You know, there's a lot going on. The game is moving super fast. You have to make so many decisions in a split second. Within each play. So, you know, I think he just broke down a little bit and just kind of lost track of what he was doing. He made a bad play. But, you know, I think, thankfully the rest of the game was really good. He made good decisions and took care of the ball. So it was definitely good to see him have one of those type of weeks.
Did you ever have one of those, not necessarily maybe turn around and throw it 15 yards behind you, but did you ever have a panic moment where you go back and watch it on film and go, oh, God, that was bad?
Oh, I had a lot of them. I don't see them.
Remember, he had no offensive line, so he had a lot of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I think my rookie year was an entire panic. You know, whole damn season.
Every pass he threw. Hey, Tim, this Browns defense has done it again through 3 weeks. I don't know if you saw, but earlier this week we showed a stat that showed that the top 3 defensive performances by one metric this year in the NFL were the Browns' first, second, and third games. They are playing, although it's early, at a very elite level. When you look at what they're doing, does it scare you at all that now they're going to see a running quarterback? Because the one thing that all their opponents had in common in weeks 1, 2, and 3, Burrow wasn't going to run. He had the hurt calf. In week 2, obviously Kenny Pickett isn't the most mobile guy in the world. And last week, Tannehill is more of a statue, too. Should we be concerned this week because all of that changes?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Jay. And it is going to be a much different type of test for this defense. And obviously, you know, the first 3 games, what we've seen on the defensive side of the ball has been unbelievable. They're playing at a historic pace right now. You know, they're shutting teams down like we haven't seen before. And it's going to be a much tougher test against Lamar Jackson. You know, Lamar has proven against everybody in the league, you know, everybody comes in with kind of that same game plan against Lamar. Let's keep him in the pocket. Let's make him be a pocket passer. Well, he's shown now that he can be a pocket passer, and also you can't keep him in the pocket. You know, he finds a way to get out of the pocket and to create, extend plays, and to make plays down the field with his legs and with his arms. So it's going to be a huge test. I think it's going to take a lot of discipline for this defensive line to stay in their rush lanes, to, you know, not get deeper than the quarterback when they're rushing the passer, push the pocket from the inside, just try to bottle him up as much as you can. But, you know, like I said, that's much easier said than done. So this will be a much tougher test this week against Lamar, and I'm looking forward to see how, you know, the game plan they come up with to defend Lamar, and more importantly, how they go out and execute that.
Tim, 2 guys I wanted to point out defensively who I think are playing great that, you know, number one is Njoku, who for much of the first 2 years in Cleveland looked like he wasn't even a football player. Certainly last year, he looked completely lost. He looked like he had no instincts. Grant Delpit had struggled his time here. At the end of last year, he started to play better, but first 3 games, he's taken it to another level. When you see guys that look kind of lost, and then all of a sudden there's a new coach, and some of it, like Njoku, seems like all of a sudden he's got football instincts, but it can't. Like, what happens? What does the coach do with guys like that turns them from guys who look lost to guys who look like stars in 1 month?
Yeah, you know, I think it's really just guys feel more comfortable in certain systems than they do in others, and you know, they're being asked to do things that they're more comfortable with, things that they're better at doing. And I think that's what Jim Schwartz does extremely well is he asks guys to do what they're really good at. You know, he doesn't put them in a situation where they're going to struggle. You know, he's not going to ask a safety to cover a guy one-on-one all the way across the field if he knows he can't do that. You know, he's going to put them in good situations, and I think that's what great coaches do. And JOK is playing great football. You know, I think I saw a stat earlier this week where I think last year it said he missed a certain percentage of tackles, maybe 14% of missed tackles throughout the season. This year, it's like down to 7. So he's cut that in half. He's much more of a sure tackler. And, I think, like you said, that has a lot to do with his instincts, and he's being in the right place. He's being put in the right situation. So these guys are really improving, from the front end to the back end. This whole defense just looks completely different. Obviously Miles is playing at a lights out level right now. So it's great to see these guys improving and feeling comfortable within that system and showing what they're capable of doing on that side of the ball.
Tim, what's crazy, though, is you say, well, Jim Schwartz is a great coach. We all agree. He's put him in a system that's more comfortable. Like, why doesn't every coach do that? Shouldn't that be obvious that you should do that? I don't, like, are there too many coaches that are like, this is my system and you got to do it my way? I don't understand why anybody would do it. It seems so obvious.
Yeah, I think it is kind of that where, each coach comes in, they have their style, they have their system that they've ran for, however many years they've been a coach, and it's what they believe in. So when they come in, I think, obviously everyone tries to do, put guys in certain situations to help them out, to make plays, to be their best version of themselves. But some coaches just do it better than others. Some coaches come up with better schemes. That's why we get elite coaches and we get coaches that are just okay. It's just like a player. Just some guys are much better at coming in and designing these things and coming up with ways to put guys in the right situations. And I think he's been great at what he's done with Myles Garrett. Like you come in here and you think how can Myles Garrett get any better than he has been throughout his career? But to me, what Schwartz has been able to do with him as far as moving him around and creating situations for Myles to get one-on-one when he can in pass rush situations, it's taken Myles' game to another level as well. So he's done a great job with everybody on that defense, and it's been great to see. And but like Jay mentioned earlier, this week's going to be a much different test for those guys. So we'll see how they go and perform against Lamar Jackson, that Ravens offense.
Tim, I got to the Browns defense has been dominant. They've been getting pressure all over the place. When you were playing quarterback and when you were in the league, what was more difficult, playing against a defense that was masterful at disguising the coverages and what they wanted to do pre-snap versus post-snap, or a team that just got penetration and caused havoc in the backfield by guys having penetration? Which is that was more difficult for you to handle?
They're both difficult in their own way, but I think for me, not being the most mobile type of guy, I think it was that getting penetration, getting pressure on the quarterback. I think, if you get to most quarterbacks in this league, other than your Lamar Jacksons and a guy who can, really get out of the pocket and really extend plays with their legs, a guy like me who was a true pocket passer, I really was affected by that, with guys, just kind of feeling that pressure, of guys coming at you, and, you got guys, you feel guys like at your feet, and you just don't feel like you have time to step into throws and time to let plays develop down the field. So, for me, it was certainly that pressure. And, I know every quarterback's a little different, but, I don't know any quarterback that says they like pressure and they like to, be getting hit as they throw the ball every play or getting sacked and those kind of things. So I think that really affects a quarterback mentally. It really speeds up your process of where you want to go with the ball. It doesn't allow you to let plays develop down the field as much as you would like to. So it really affected me as a quarterback, that instant pressure.
The play where Myles just went in motion on his own and drew two blockers with him. Well, yeah. I understand there's not very many guys in the league that are so good that you have to target that way, but that's the first time I recall ever seeing it. He said he did it on his own just to screw with them. The play clock was running down. He knew they couldn't snap it until they were set. Why don't we see that happen more often?
I don't know. I've never seen that before in all my time of watching football where a guy, first of all, I've never seen a defensive end just go in motion like that. Certainly Myles created that. He came up with that one by himself.
It's called the Myles motion.
The Myles motion. Yeah, I'm sure maybe they put that in the defense now just to confuse guys. But, so he goes in motion and two guys just go with him. And, I've never seen that before. So that was new to me. And, Myles is just, he has like the ultimate green light. It's almost like a Steph Curry in basketball where they're just like, you can shoot any shot you want. You can do whatever you want to do out on the court. And Myles, he kind of has that freedom. Like, do your thing, man. Just go out there. We've seen him doing crossover dribbles before the snap. Now we see him go in motion. It's like something new every week with him. And I think that's really bringing out Myles' creativity and freeing him up to go out and be the player that he is.
Yeah, and that, I think, is the Schwartz effect. And it's funny because you're damned if you do, Tim, and you're damned if you don't as an offense. If he goes in motion like that and you don't bring your tight end over there with him, you're leaving yourself extremely vulnerable because now he's coming where there isn't an extra blocker on that side. If you do decide to bring him with you, you run the risk of, if it's late in the play clock, taking a delay of game or having to burn a timeout. It really is. I can't believe we've never seen it until now.
It's one of those,
but
why did we think of that?
Well, why did this take so long?
Yeah.
Is the counter to that, Tim, you just run to the side that Miles just vacated? Like, in all honesty, is that the counter to that?
It really messes with your protection schemes and communications in the offensive line. You call the play in the huddle and you've got it set to go in this direction, and all of a sudden the guy, you have two of your blockers move to the other side. It kind of screws up, your protection scheme and everything like that, and who your reads, your hot routes are, side adjustments are as a quarterback and wide receivers as well. So it requires a lot of communication with those guys. When Miles moves around like that, and you have, your offensive line has to start scrambling. Where's this guy going now? Who are we going to? Who's our hot guy? That type of thing. So it definitely messes with defenses, and I think that we'll probably see a lot more of that now going forward. Now that we've seen how much that does truly affect an offensive scheme.
But how many guys in the league truly command that type of attention? Like, I can't believe it's
not many.
No.
Yeah, I'm thinking, just off the top of my head, probably a T.J. Watt.
Yep.
Maybe one of the Bosa guys,
Bosa.
Bosa brothers. Yeah, some of those. It's only a handful of guys that you really are concerned with that much. Where that if you put them in a one-on-one situation, that more than likely it's going to be a sack if the quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball in a hurry.
Tim, we'll get your prediction in a second, but before we get there and let you go, one question. We've talked about the Schwartz effect on the defense and how they're flying around, they're making plays. It's astonishing how much different the defense looks this year from last. And I know they added some pieces too, but I think we all agree that Schwartz is the biggest component. He has already, in 3 games as the Browns' defensive coordinator, held 2 opponents to 3 points. Joe Woods did that once in 3 years. What effect does that have on the quarterback and on the offense, knowing that you probably don't have to shoot 30 or 35 points to come out with the victory? How does that change your mindset and your performance?
Yeah, it's a great question, Jay. And I think for a quarterback, it really does affect your mindset, and it affects the type of plays that you try to go out and make throughout a game. You know that you don't have to force the ball. If the play calls for a deep shot down the field and it's not there, you don't have to force that. It's okay to come back, check the ball down. If the running back breaks a tackle and gets you a first down, you extend the drive, that's great. But also, in the back of your mind, if you have to punt the football, it's not such a bad thing because you're probably going to get it right back with that type of defense. So it certainly does affect the way you think about things as a quarterback, strategy-wise, how aggressive you need to be throughout the game, especially early in games. You can go out and just say, hey, I'll take what's there. I'm not going to force anything because I know I've got a great defense to support me. So that's very comforting as a quarterback to know you have that, that defense that you can rely on, and you don't have to go out and score, like you said, 35 points. The defense is probably going to make it a low-scoring game. So you just go out and do your thing and not turn the football over. Try not to put them in a bad situation on a short field, and just play as conservative as you need to as a quarterback because you have that defense to back you up.
Tim, we need 2 predictions. We want your prediction on the Browns-Ravens, but also your Kentucky Wildcats are 4-0. Now, they haven't played anybody yet.
Yeah.
You did have your first conference game against Vanderbilt. But you got Florida at home this week, and then the big one, obviously, Georgia next week on the road. Do they stay undefeated? I think Florida's ranked at the back end of the top 25. Do they stay undefeated?
Yeah.
And what about the Browns?
Yeah, I think Kentucky is, we've had a lot of success against Florida over the last 5 or 6 years. All the games have been really tight, been really close. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Kentucky has won 3 out of the last 5 games against Florida. So it's, we got them at home. It's a noon kickoff. Unfortunately, I was hoping it was going to be a later game, but, we'll all be there supporting the Cats. I think Kentucky gets a win at home. Obviously, going to be a huge game the week after against Georgia on the road. So, the SEC has just kind of been up and down, this year. Other than Georgia, Alabama doesn't look like Alabama. LSU's kind of been inconsistent. So it's, it's kind of wide open this year. So we'll see what Kentucky, what type of team they really have this week when they play Florida. But, so I'll take Kentucky in that one. But as far as the Browns go, I'm going to go with the Browns just because of that defense. I think it will be a very tough test for them against Lamar. But they're playing at home, and Deshaun had such a big game last week. It's just if he can go out and continue that type of performance with the defense that we have, I certainly have to take the Browns at home.
Thanks, Tim. We
Sounds
appreciate
great.
it, man.
Tim,
All
we'll
right,
see
guys.
you next week, man. Hopefully we'll be 3-1 and talking about the bye
Yep.
week and the Niners. We'll see you then.
That'd be great. All right, look forward to it, guys. See you then.
All right, former Browns quarterback Tim Couch.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I do have to jump in with a little breaking news. Steve, you take tag board full. Mary Kay Cabot is at Browns practice today. We talked about Deshaun's sore shoulder. Mary Kay reporting just a minute ago. He threw 2 short passes in early drills, did not throw during red zone drills. So just something to monitor from now till Sunday.
I'll piggyback off that. Zach tweeted that Deshaun threw 1 pass, then he walked over to the trainer at the start of practice.
Well, that's not great.
Zach is presuming that you have to get DTR prepped to play, so this may be a little bit more than we thought.
Oh, boy.
DTR. Get ready, dog.
I'm just curious to see the line change. I wonder if they took it off the board right now.
Yeah, that's
Because
interesting.
that line's going to change. The Ravens will become favorites in the game.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
DTR plays.
Yeah.
Injury report should be released while we're still on the show, around 12:45.
Well, that's a bummer. Let's hope. I mean, he may be fine. We don't know. It might just
It's still
be
Friday. Just for everyone, it is still
No,
Friday.
we got
Yeah.
49 hours to kick off. These things, though, I mean, I'm assuming that he's had the MRI and everything else. These things can linger, or these things can just magically clear up. You don't know how bad it
Jay,
is.
I don't like that. You've been there. You throw one time,
I know.
and then when that pain hits you,
Not a
you
good
throw
sign.
it. You like, and anytime you go immediately to the trainer and don't say nothing to your coach, that's problem. That's like that's fear in your heart. Like, I'm scared. I don't know.
Yeah,
This hurt
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm assuming, Jay, that they did an MRI.
I would imagine
they
so.
Tried to check off as many boxes as they could. It's you can't tell. I mean, we don't have enough information. Right. Obviously, the new information today makes us a lot more concerned.
Not great.
Because we asked that question to start the show, and we were, it's okay. It's Friday, and there's plenty of time. But if there's still pain when he's throwing it, that's certainly not a good sign.
Yeah.
If it did have to go to DTR, he's a huge question mark. We have no idea what we have. Zero, none.
This is the worst. Listen, hold on. Let me just. I'm laughing because you like, don't you say it, G. Bush. I hate you. This is the worst case scenario, right? If for the Browns.
I know where you're going. It don't matter. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Don't let that boy come in and play well.
It don't matter. Why don't matter?
No. Listen.
It's my content evil dream. I've told you.
It's what McNuggets said. He said this.
You did.
Like verbatim. He said, my content dream is, no disrespect, Deshaun Watson comes in, we think he's the guy, but then he gets hurt, and then DTR comes in and balls out. That he said that verbatim, and this is week 4? And we right on the cusp.
Listen, it was not my dream. I just said if we want numbers galore, that is going to do numbers galore in the city.
Yeah, I want
we
wins.
don't want anyone to get hurt.
I want wins. I'll take wins any day of the week over quarterback controversy in terms of stirring up interest in the show.
Listen,
but it will create a problem.
If he comes in and balls out and throws for 300,
that will create a
he
problem.
could throw for 404 touchdowns, run for 202 touchdowns. Deshaun Watson starting as soon as he's healthy.
I get that.
I got to tell you,
period.
I'm not the numbers that you get. Like, if you want to go 250 and 2 touchdowns, I'm with you.
That's why I'm
if
laughing.
he throws for 404 touchdowns and runs for 200 and runs for
Let
2
me tell you
touchdowns,
something.
There's a quarterback controversy.
Deshaun has a dead cap hit of $200 million
I get it.
this
We
year.
I get
He
it.
is the starting
We didn't say
quarterback.
cut him.
Period.
Once upon a time, and I'm not trying to foreshadow what's coming, but to give you guys that may not be old enough to remember this scenario, once upon a time the Patriots gave a huge contract to Drew Bledsoe. If I'm not mistaken, it was the first $100 million contract in the NFL. So that was record-setting. He got hurt early in the season. Tom Brady came in, balled out, won a Super Bowl. Bye-bye, Drew Bledsoe. And that was, at the time, he was making the kind of money that if you extrapolate the dollars to today, that's kind of
Are we
Deshaun
really having
Watson
this
money.
conversation
No.
right now?
No, we are not.
That's why I laughed. Because I'm gonna tell you what. This is like we would not have this conversation. Obviously, it's funny because Deshaun Watson is trying to get his foot. He's trying to get his footing. He's trying to gain it. He just looked like he got it. Like, I remember a point in time. This is when Brian Hoyer was playing, right? and he had a game where he had came off a really great game. I think he almost had 300 yards. And then they go into a Thursday night or a Monday night game against the Buffalo Bills, and he tears his ACL, right? At that point, Brian Hoyer, we was like, is he a guy that could possibly be starting for you? And he gets injured. Now, my thing is, obviously, they're not going to just switch it up. But I feel it's so ironic and only so Brown.
I think we better just be hoping Deshaun Watson plays.
Everybody
because
needs
it's a
to hope
disaster if DTR plays.
Now, here's the thing, and to show you that anything is possible in the NFL, we saw Mr. Irrelevant last year come and take a 49ers team that has more talent on offense than this Browns team.
Yes.
But there are a lot of similarities between these two rosters.
He's never lost.
He hasn't lost a regular season
That's
game.
very improbable.
And
Only
even
lost
the
when he
only
got
loss
hurt.
was the playoff game, and he got hurt early. And then at one point, they were playing QB4.
And
they were thinking about
they had
playing
to
QB4.
trade the number 3 overall quarterback. The pick
Yes.
is just like that's
We
improbable.
could pick out any anomaly you want.
We're only doing that because they have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
But
It's not likely.
it's not likely because in 98% of the cases, it's a disaster.
Hey, by
when
the
a guy like this plays.
Hey, by the way,
Maybe 99.
Especially when Brock Purdy had Christian McCaffrey behind him.
Well, as I said, the Niners clearly have
Well, that's
more
a
weapons
pretty
on
big
offense.
thing.
We're not
It's a
saying
huge
we want
thing.
it. We don't
It's a
want
huge
it.
thing.
I don't want no problem.
But
If
that
DTR
Patriots team, though,
percentage
that Patriots
chance-
team did not have those weapons on offense. They had a
Percentage
great
chance
defense.
the Browns win this game with Deshaun Watson.
With
I'd say
Deshaun,
60%,
I'd say 70.
Percentage chance they win with DTR.
15.
25.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Look, there's no argument who
everybody's
we want.
being reasonable.
No,
Okay.
there's no
Yeah.
argument.
We
who
was just
need to have
laughing
in
at
there.
we was laughing at how
Yeah.
before the season we talked the most 3 talked about people in the industry was DeJuan Jones, DTR, and Amani Bates. And we said there was no way these guys would see in the court or the field. These guys would get red shirts and then Conklin goes down.
G.
DeJuan.
Bush speaks it into existence. When he says it, listen, especially when he's wearing a tuxedo, a.k.a. a prom vest. Regardless of who the quarterback is, I will continue to monitor Twitter, see the latest with Deshaun Watson. As soon as the injury report comes out, I'll let you guys know what it officially lists QB1 as. But real quick, we have 2 head coaches in this matchup who are quite familiar with each other. John Harbaugh's coached against the Browns 30 times. Stefanski, not that much. But when you look at these 2 head coaches, can anyone make the case that Stefanski has the edge over Harbaugh in this matchup?
The coaching edge? No.
No,
What?
not at all.
Yeah. Now,
So then question 2. No, there's 2-part. I asked that for a reason.
I mean,
That was the
He brought it
fastest
up on the
answer.
Do
conference
you want to
call.
make that case?
yeah, I mean,
No, I don't. But
he's 2-4.
But it leads to the second part of this question, which Bull brought up on the conference call this morning. We talk about history of a coach and a team against a opponent, and we use the Bengals-Browns as a perfect example here.
Right.
Are we going to ignore the long-term history of the Ravens having the Browns number, especially in the Harbaugh era, or are we picking and choosing which history we're going to tend to believe will continue regardless of the past? And, Bull, I may have explained that a little wrong if you want to clarify.
No, the point is that everybody brings up the Bengals-Browns history in the last couple of years and makes it seem like there's something to it, which it may be, or it may be coincidence. And yet, I feel like everybody here wants to poo-poo the Ravens' dominance over the Browns. Like not you.
I don't think anyone's
but,
poo-pooing
I'm not.
it. I don't think anybody's
Okay,
poo-pooing it.
then maybe I'm right.
I'm not
Maybe
poo-pooing
wrong.
that at all.
Maybe it's Mike that's poo-pooing.
I mean, look, if you break it down, every team in the division has had dominance against the Browns over the last 20 years. They probably had more success against the Bengals, but clearly the Ravens and the Steelers' history has been an abject dumpster fire, and I think that has more to do with the way the organizations have been run. John Harbaugh has been given far better ingredients to prepare the meal than all of the Cleveland coaches have in this head-to-head rivalry. I remember the game, it was a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2020 when the Browns made the playoffs. I think, that, if I'm not mistaken, the Ravens beat the Browns both times that year. Browns finished 10-6, and 2 of their losses were to the Ravens. But in the last game,
you're right.
It was the shootout, and when they met at midfield, everybody overheard Harbaugh saying, like, this might be one of the greatest games in history. It was like 45-42 or something. And he said, your team is awesome. Like, he was very complimentary of Kevin Stefanski in that moment. But then, the head-to-head matchups, Kevin's 2-4 against him.
You have to. Here's how I judge whether you got a good coach or not. I judge. There's plenty of times where the Steelers have had less talent. There's times where the Ravens had arguably less talent than the Browns, and they still go out and they find a way to win against the Browns.
Monday night.
It happened Monday night. So I can't give you an edge because I've seen too many times where Harbaugh has had teams that really weren't even that good, backup quarterbacks and dinged up, and people are out, and they still find a way to win football games. And until the Browns do that, I can't consistently just say, "Oh, they're good," and I need to see it over a sustained period of time. Like he's 11-4, he's 24-6. That's a really big body of work.
11-4 in Cleveland.
The Browns find a way to lose close games.
They do.
Games that they should win, they find a way to lose them.
And the great teams find a way to win close games. Now, the Ravens are coming off a game in which it was close, went into overtime. All they had to do on a couple of different drives in the game, some in regulation, some in overtime, just get a first down.
Yeah.
And you got Justin Tucker. He was short on a 62-yarder by a yard, but they just couldn't crack the ball past midfield despite the fact that they were getting it at like the 40-yard line. And that, to me, and the Colts nobody's fearing the Colts.
No.
I just looked at that and said, this is a game that the Browns should win, and it shouldn't be a nail-biter. It's at home. They've got a terrific defense, and this Ravens team has looked mid to me this year. So it's a game they should win.
What's the line? Is it 3.5?
2.5.
2.5? Oh, so it went down. It was 3.5, wasn't it?
I thought it was 3.
I never saw it at 3.5. I saw it at 3.
I think it was 3.
Okay.
I wonder where it's going to go now with the Deshaun Watson news.
Well, they may just pull it off the board.
Yeah, they might.
Now at this point. I mean, if Lamar gets loose on the Browns, they're going to be in trouble. If they can corral Lamar, this is going to be another double-digit win, I think, right? Like, I don't see how Baltimore
Tyvus
can win.
said that he would expect less man-to-man coverage.
Yeah.
Just because your corners have their backs turned to the line of scrimmage, that's not a good thing to do about Lamar. Do you get the sense that we'll see less man too?
Yeah, I'd be curious. Did Tyvus mention? I know we're going to talk about it here in a minute about like who would you want to spy?
Yeah, we're going to talk about that later.
What did Tyvus say?
I don't know that
I don't
we
think he
asked
was
him
here.
specifically.
Tyvus did actually answer that question
he?
for us upstairs. Now, we asked him when he was here pre-show on Wednesday, and he said...
Well, we can put a pin in it if you want until we get to the topic. Are we doing that now or TV?
No.
We're doing it the TV show.
That's
all right, then we'll wait.
TV
We can wait.
show.
To me, I'm running what I do. I'm going to do what I do. If I'm been knocking folks out running the same defense that we running, I'm not changing.
Even though the quarterback
But the quarterback is
distinctly
immensely different.
I don't care. It's Lamar. Hey, that's how you know you are dominant. That's like saying we're gonna take the ball. When you play the Cavs, guess who's gonna have the ball? LeBron. It don't matter. It's LeBron. He's gonna have the rock. I'm not gonna be passing the ball, letting Boobie Gibson get his money. Shout out to Boobie, by the way. But listen, no, we run what we run. If this is gonna be an elite defense, the Legion of Boom didn't switch up. The Tampa 2, they run in Tampa 2, and the Bears run in 46. I feel like this is an all-time defense. You got the pieces of the parts. I feel you go out there and you run what you run best and let your chips fall.
I feel this one's different. I just do.
He's going to have to prove it to me.
It's a different skill set than anybody else, obviously.
Yeah,
than
they haven't
what they're
seen
gonna face.
But
anything
if you feel like you have the athletes to keep up with Lamar, then you play it straight. I agree with G. I think you play the way you play, and you make the other team adjust.
So if you feel like you have the athletes to cover the Ravens receivers, and I don't think that's any question.
No, that's not.
It's not the Ravens receivers that would force me to play less.
But that's not what I was talking about.
Right, but the effect of their receivers taking our corners down the field with their backs turned to Lamar. That's where they're going to kill you.
No, I'm saying, what do I need my corners for?
Yeah, we counting on.
You don't want their backs. You want them to come up and help tackle.
I don't think I need them.
We don't need them. We feel like the linebacking core and the defensive line is what we hang our hat on. If I got Myles Garrett, the best defensive player,
I hope you're right.
Hey, listen,
if the corners are leading me in tackles, that's a problem.
I wouldn't be surprised if they start in man with the idea that if it's not working or if he's starting to find lanes and gashing us, then we quickly switch out.
But if I got two corners on, like their receivers aren't that good. They got a rookie,
no, I know
nice
they're
player.
not. They don't scare me.
But if I got two corners doing that,
Flowers is good though.
Then what am I got 9 other guys worrying about Lamar. Why do I need the corners to worry about Lamar?
Well, if you're not going to play man, then you need Delpit more in pass coverage.
Yes,
fair.
you do.
No, but I'm saying play man.
But Okay, see, Tyvus is saying don't play man. You're saying play man. My only point is, if you're going the Tyvus route and you're not going to play man, you can't really use Delpit as the spy.
No, you can't.
Because you need him more.
You do.
As
and
help.
the back end.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would want a linebacker.
And I don't know that I don't know if there's a linebacker that I think can keep up with.
Well, we're going to talk about it on the Channel 3 show. My choice is a linebacker.
I'm going back and forth on
you?
the list. Yeah, I still don't know.
We're going to have 3 different. We did a pre-show meeting.
We had 4 different answers yesterday.
Yeah, actually.
Because
Yeah,
remember,
4
one of the
different
answers was really kind of off the
Definitely off the board.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys tune in 12:30 as we get from YouTube to Channel 3. Are you guys ready for a 5-pack of McNuggets?
I can't wait for this. Give me a 5-piece.
Before I give you guys a 5-piece, I got to remind everybody that if you're ever in the need of life-saving antibiotics, you know who to call. It is Jace Medical at jacemedical.com. They take all the uncertainty out of the equation by providing 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use, giving you peace of mind. Jace Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand. Jace Medical is simple. They handle everything from the evaluation to the delivery, ongoing consultation and care, so don't get caught unprepared. Get $20 off on these life-saving antibiotics today from Jace Medical by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout at Jace Medical. That is JASE medical.com. All right, guys. So I searched the interweb, the deep depths of PFF, Pro Football Reference, any stat website you can find for the 5 things I think you need to know. Jay, G, Jason, Bull, and everyone out there watching to make you a smarter, more intelligent fan for this particular matchup between the Browns and the Ravens.
Now, does this 5-piece come with sauce or no?
You guys tell me what sauce this
All right.
5-piece comes with at the end. There is a Deshaun Watson stat in there. If he doesn't play, obviously, we're going to have to alleviate that stat from the 5-piece of McNuggets. But we're going to start with Lamar Jackson and Lamar the Scrambler. So far this season, 54% of Lamar's rushing yards have come on designed quarterback scrambles. So actual offensive plays where Todd Monken says, Lamar, go do what you do best. When they dial up quarterback run plays, though, he's running 56% to the left side of the line of scrimmage. Now, why is that relevant? Well, for the last 3 years, he's always been at least 50% to the right side.
Interesting.
New offensive coordinator, maybe new philosophy. Ronnie Staley's the left tackle here. Why that matters on Sunday? Well, Myles Garrett is lined up over the left tackle 57% of the time this season. If you're going to run at any defensive end in the NFL, the one I want to run at the least is number 95 on Cleveland. So if the tendencies, what we've seen through 3 games so far, hold up, we're going to see a lot of Myles trying to shed a blocker and tackle Lamar Jackson at one time. I'm putting my money on 95 in that match.
Yeah, I like 95 too. I mean, I think there'll be plays where 8 gets him.
Yeah.
But overall for the game, I like Myles.
Yeah.
And that's not. And here's the crazy thing about it is when you look at the statistics, they're in the middle of the pack in terms of five-man rushers or pressures. They're not blitzing that much.
No, because they can get home before.
It just looked like they're moving around too a lot. So a lot of people is thinking, they're getting home with 4 and still being able to leave 7 in coverage.
Right. I think one of the reasons it feels like they are bringing more often is because it feels like when they do bring that extra guy, they're getting home.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's happening a lot more than it is. Yeah. But, hell, you can get home with 4, do it.
Yeah, I take it. Take it. Sorry, Joe Woods. Sorry, Joe. We wasn't doing the same thing for you last year. Ain't that messed up? That's like seeing your old girlfriend. Like when she started, she was somebody else. When she started wearing dresses, you was wearing sweatpants when you was around me. You weren't even going to the gym.
Well, he was also dating Tommy Togiai last year.
Yeah, that's right. His girlfriend wasn't nearly as pretty as Jim Schwartz's girlfriend.
That's the best line of the day, Jason.
That was good.
Well played.
He took Tommy Togiai to the prom. Togiai ain't even in school anymore.
I ain't even touching that. I ain't touching. What's up, Tommy? Tommy might want to come punch me in the face. Jason said that. I ain't saying nothing about that.
It's like when you go to the extra
harsh.
small private school and there's 12 kids in the class and 3 girls. And
Slim pickings, man.
you got to go what you got to go. All right, the second stat of the McNuggets 5-pack you need to know. We talked about Deshaun Watson and clean pockets versus under pressure this season. Well, there's a big variance, but there's no variance bigger in the NFL this season through 3 games from a clean pocket versus under pressure than Lamar Jackson. Take a look at these stats. In a clean pocket this season, he's completing 81% of his passes.
Wow.
Thrown 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Under pressure, only 37.5% completion percentage. He's thrown an interception. That 43.9% difference is the single biggest difference in the NFL through 3 weeks minus last night's game. I have to go check. I did this yesterday.
Yeah.
Of any quarterback's completion percentage between a clean pocket and under pressure. His PFF grade drops 57 points from a clean pocket from a 90.1 into the 40s under pressure. According to PFF, in only 16 dropbacks where he's been under pressure, he has 3 turnover-worthy throws. That's a 8.3%, the highest number in the NFL.
Wow.
And to put that into context, just to give you what's coming on Sunday, the Browns generate pressure on 32.3% of opposing quarterback dropbacks. That is the number 1 highest rate in the NFL.
I think you dropped the ball on this one, Mike. I think you needed to have last year's statistics to back up what you have, because 16 passes in that situation is not enough of a sample size. I think if it fit last year, if it was the same way last year, and then you just backed it up with
But
this
it's a
year,
totally new offense with Todd Monken.
That doesn't matter. Is it really that different an
kinda does.
They're
offense?
doing things
that
differently
matters.
for sure. I think it matters, and I think I actually, when I was deciding who was going to win this game,
Yeah.
if there had to be one stat that I didn't know about that I would love to have had to use as backup for why I made my pick, it would be that one. I'm picking the Browns because I believe the Browns' defensive front is going to win that battle, and they're going to put Lamar under pressure. And without knowing what the numbers are, my eyes tell me throughout his career, he is really, really good when he has time to stand back there in a clean pocket, but you want to force him into those situations. That's when you get the turnovers. So I think that's the reason I picked the Browns. I like that stat.
Bull, I got your numbers for you from last year.
Yeah.
Last season, 249 dropbacks in a clean pocket, a 70% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, an 88.6 PFF grade. Last season under pressure, 129 dropbacks, a 40.9% completion percentage, so 30 points fewer, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 51.9 PFF grade. So not as big of a drop-off
But
this
still
year's
big.
been
Still
a
pretty
slight
But
big-
where does I would need to know
But
where
pretty
that
big.
ranks too. But
It's
I
still a
agree with
significant
Jay that the
drop-off.
eye test has always told me as well that Lamar is more affected by pressure than the average quarterback.
Yeah.
He'll throw you one. He'll throw one.
Yes,
They got 4
there's
picks
no
one
doubt.
time.
He makes panic decisions sometimes under pressure. From watching him over the years.
I also think that he's more easily rattled than your average quarterback.
That's the way it seems.
You want your quarterback on an even keel. I have too many images in my head of Lamar on the sidelines during a game in which he was heavily pressured and he's thrown a pick or two where he's wearing defeat head to toe.
Again, I agree with that. I also would say, and this is I don't have. This is just eye test and my thoughts about Lamar.
Right.
Is he's a front runner quarterback.
Yes.
I don't like him when you're losing.
Yeah.
When you got the lead, he's fantastic.
Right.
He's
and
not
maybe
come
if you're
from
down a
behind quarterback.
score, it's okay. But once the game starts to get out of hand,
He's not rallying you back.
yeah.
from-
I don't feel
No.
like he's bringing you back from 2 touchdowns.
My dad hit me up yesterday, and he was watching the Thursday night game, and he said the Browns need to do exactly what the Lions did. The Lions jumped out and was all over the Packers.
Yeah, they were.
Jordan
Although
Love.
the Packers scored first because Goff threw a
Goff
pick.
threw
Yeah,
a pick,
but
it went
was-
from 3-0 to 17 or 21
Yeah.
to 3
24-3.
in no time.
And Jordan Love was confused. I think if you get to that point, you can take their heart a little bit. And usually Harbaugh's teams wouldn't say that, but I don't believe, like Bull says, the Ravens aren't good every year defensively. You just don't get that. You have to earn that title.
Yeah.
And I think that if you get those guys down a couple of scores, and now Lamar Jackson has to be, patient down the field. He can't get it all back in one play. I think that's when he presses a little bit. And that's why I think they just have an overall advantage over him, because I think that pressure over time kind of really just bends and makes you bust. I just do.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, we're going to talk a little Deshaun Watson here. So this one could change, obviously, if Deshaun doesn't play. What I've thought of Deshaun Watson's season, I thought he hasn't been very good throwing the deep ball, which has been his strength throughout the most of his career. But when you go into the advanced analytics of the numbers, he's actually 4 of 6. Or take it back. He has 6 completions of 20-plus air yards between the hashes this season, which I went back and tracked because I couldn't remember them. It's true. He does. And 4 of those have been graded as big-time throws by PFF, which essentially means your average quarterback's not making that type of throw.
Right.
3 of those 4 passes inside the hashes, including the one to Amari Cooper last week, has led to a touchdown. Marlon Humphrey not expected to play on Sunday. The Ravens have given up the second most yards in the NFL in the air between the hashes this season. If Stefanski's going to dial something up, I expect it to be deep between the hashes.
How does
while
that
Kyle Hamilton comes
compare,
on a
Mike?
blitz.
How does the 6 and the 4 compare around the league? You have that? Like, is that a high number? Is that a low
The
number?
4 is the 4 was third in the NFL of
Okay.
big-time throws between the hashes. I'm not sure on completions. I can look that up for you in a second.
It's odd because we don't have a completion percentage. In my mind, his deep throws that are coming to mind were overthrows.
Misses.
Yeah, they were misses. So I don't know what his completion percentage is on the throws beyond 20 yards downfield. I do remember he had some really nice hookups with Amari Cooper that were further than 20 yards. But in week 1, he overthrew Marquise Goodwin twice.
Underthrew him.
Yeah,
Underthrew him, I'm
twice.
sorry, on balls that would have been touchdowns.
And Cooper, he underthrew last week on the easy touchdown, but he said that was intentional. The coverage was such a bust. He was so open. He said the worst thing you can do is overthrow him when you want to give him a chance to catch it.
I got you.
So I believe him on that one, that
Okay.
he underthrew that intentionally.
He is 13 of 16 this season on deep passes of
God,
20-plus yards.
then
However,
I remember all of them.
Of the 6
right?
completions, 4 have been tracked as big-time throws.
Okay.
Deshaun Watson has what I call
Wow.
sneaky good syndrome. Like, there's not a huge crazy play where you like, man, that was so crazy. It's made the highlights. But he got sneaky good throws. He's not that fast, but he's elusive. He sheds people off. And he tends to play better than what you remember. Like, I go back and look and you think about it, that throw to DPJ, even he had to throw one like that in Pittsburgh. He had to throw
Amari
Cooper on the side. I'm like, and there was 2 or 3 throws he threw to Elijah Moore that were incomplete because he didn't get his feet down.
Right.
But they
By
were
the way, the big-time throws don't have to be completions.
Another, by the way, the Browns line has just gone to -1.
Okay,
That
The
is big
spread
news.
is rapidly changing.
yeah, that
is
is
big news.
that
It's
is
gone from 3. 10 minutes ago it was 2.5. Now the Browns are favored by 1.
Zach texted me, I showed both, and Zach doesn't think he's playing.
doesn't think he's
Yeah,
playing.
he doesn't think he's playing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, that's nothing official. That's just
No.
he's been around that team a long time. And he
You
knows
know,
what
but
to look for.
knowing what you said and how Zach described it, he threw one pass and came immediately over to the trainer.
Yeah.
The only benefit
that's
that I could,
not
the
that's
ol-
not good.
The only upside of DTR playing is that the Ravens have no clue what to expect.
Neither do we.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah.
looking for some positive.
Yeah.
dang, man.
No, there's not much tape on
Well, I
crazy.
do think it'll be the same offense, same plays, same. I think it'll look very similar.
Well,
with
that was the
DTR.
reason that
It's
you
the whole
drafted a
reason
guy
they
like
drafted him.
DTR.
That's exactly right.
You don't want to have the situation that you had last year where Brissett's running a completely different offense than Deshaun Watson.
This
is
is kind of crazy. It changed a lot of stuff, man.
no, it changes a lot of stuff.
Changes everything.
And you just mentioned there's no Marlon Humphrey playing. The secondary is banged up. They had to find guys off the street to mess around to even get, to get people up front to rush the passer. This game was setting up where if you get a Deshaun Watson coming off his best game, this is a game that the Browns are looking to win. Now you're taking a look at it, you bring it back. You had DTR coming in the game. And we don't know what to expect. They don't
Well,
know
I
what
think
to
the one
expect.
thing we should expect would be short, high percentage completions. Very, I don't
the
want to say
Baker
dumb
offense.
down the offense,
It's
but
the Baker
Bakerize the offense. Make everything quick reads, underneath, short. Here is where the Nick Chubb thing becomes a real problem. Normally, in a game like this, with Nick Chubb over there, you're like, okay, we shift gears, and now we go heavy run, heavy Nick Chubb. There is no Nick Chubb.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is one of those situations where if it ends up being DTR, Baltimore is going to be able to pin their ears back, come after him, and know that there's not really a big second option that the Browns can go to.
I think the game plan for Kareem Hunt just ratcheted it up. I think you see a lot more Kareem Hunt. I think you see Jerome Ford.
Kareem Hunt's dinged up.
He's dinged up a little bit too.
Do we know the likelihood of him playing?
I think that is I won't call it rust, but he hadn't been in camp.
He can't come back.
He
in
got
and
hit
just
for the
play.
first time.
Yeah,
Like-
that was called that my soul is hurting.
Well, that goes
yeah.
back to the point I was making last week. He cannot possibly be in shape. You
No.
don't go from Planet
Yeah.
Fitness to Cleveland Browns
but
Stadium.
do we know if his dings are serious enough to keep him off the
He
field?
practiced. He practiced yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, as of now, I would expect that he plays, but who knows?
Well, we thought Deshaun Watson was good. And it's still not official. He hasn't been ruled out by any stretch.
No.
But a guy that knows the team pretty well and has covered them for long enough to know how these things play out.
I don't know if he wanted me to say that or not. Sorry, Zach. He just
bad.
texted me. He's like,
Nice job, Kurt Schilling.
Well, here are 2 stats to wrap this up that'll make anyone feel better, and it highlights the Browns'
That's a good
defense.
line.
And we got super chats real quick. But Myles Garrett, we talked about him needing to have a monster season. This was his chance to break out. Well, so far through 3 games, he is doing that. He is the single highest PFF pass rush grade in the NFL through 3 weeks, a 93.6. He's on pace to set a single-season career high in pressures with 51, sacks with 20, quarterback hits with 23, a pass rush win rate. And the opposing tackles he's faced through 3 games this season have an average PFF grade of 28.9.
Oh, my.
Myles Garrett, regardless of who's at quarterback for the Browns, is poised to wreak havoc on Baltimore's offensive line.
Look, man, listen, people may not believe me. The first 3-4 weeks of the year, defensive ends don't get highlights listed. He went viral against the NBA crossover stand-up defensive end. Then he went viral a couple weeks later by inventing the defensive end in motion play, which will revolutionize the game. Listen, Myles Garrett, if he don't play another snap, just that, I think they might even put him in the Hall of Fame.
He's that good.
Look,
We have
Let's
one
not
more
talk
to get
about
to
that. Play another
real
snap.
quick, though.
One thing while we're talking about Myles Garrett and PFF grades, if you look at the top 10 highest rated players in the NFL, defensive players through 3 games, Grant Delpit's number 9.
no,
I mean, we've known that he's just looked like a completely different player, but top 10 right now in PFF grades through 3 weeks.
Grant Delpit look crazy.
just in time for a new contract.
Yep.
You aren't kidding. Get ready to pay
just
him.
in time.
Pay the man.
Before I read you guys my final stat, we can't show it, but on Twitter there's a play going around that shows where it may be Deshaun Watson getting hurt. It was a designed quarterback run, by the way.
Oh, you talk about that power run where he ran and he put his
Ran right up
shoulder
the middle,
out?
got tackled on
Yeah,
the floor.
Yep.
That is what people are, and this is just on Twitter. There's no official
Well,
word.
at
but
the
that's what
time
people
when
are.
that happened, I'm like, that doesn't look good. I don't know
Got
why
hit.
we're doing that.
All right, our final 5-piece of McNugget stat is that MJ Emerson is that dude. Through 3 games this year, Denzel Ward's been targeted 22 times. He's given up 11 receptions, 151 yards, skewed because the one big George Pickens touchdown. But quarterbacks against him have an 87.5 passer rating against Ward. Now, that's once again skewed because
That
of
one
the
play.
one big play for Pickett. In 2 games, Greg Newsom's been targeted 6 times. He's given up 4 receptions, 34 yards. He's at 81.3 passer rating against. Well, MJ Emerson's that dude. He's played all 3 games. He's been targeted 12 times. He's allowed 3 receptions for 37 yards.
Wow.
And his 39.9 passer rating against is the 5th best in the NFL.
Which is why I would
He's
take
not-
him over Joe Antonio.
This dude is
You're out of your
elite.
First of all, you need context to that as to who he's guarding on each play.
It don't matter.
Jamar Chase
He
6
lines up.
times,
Yep.
allowed 1 reception to Jamar Chase.
On how many plays?
6 targets.
targets.
per
Oh, there you
reception.
go. That's his credibility.
To G's point earlier about we do what we do, Denzel Ward gets that side, Martin Emerson gets that side. They don't care who they're
That's
lining
right.
up against.
Yep,
They
I
just
love
cut the field in half.
I got to
it.
give Jason credit. You know, we all know he crapped the bed on his.
Okay.
No, I'm giving you credit. Wait, I am.
I know where you're going.
As he gives you credit,
I know.
no
He's
one's
gonna-
going
yeah,
to dump
he's
on
gonna
your
shit
Jed
you
Wait,
Wills.
no, here we go.
there you go.
He was lost in the soup on Jed.
I knew you
Wills.
were going to say that.
However, something we
Yeah,
talked about yesterday
yeah.
has nothing to do with the Browns. You and I were arguing for years about Josh Naylor continuing to play against left.
Yep.
He had a really good year against
And
left.
he was pounding
I
around
got,
the
I
hill.
got to give you kudos for that.
All
'Cause
right.
You said stick with him.
Yep.
I was done with him against lefties.
You were.
You up 2-1. You got Emerson and Naylor. 2-1. You only had.
Well, I never said Emerson wasn't bad.
I know.
No,
the
Jason's
DeJuan
picks.
Jones. The
He
picks.
hits on Naylor. He hits
Yeah.
on Emerson. He's way off on Jed Wills.
They
Right.
2 for
He was average in the past. This year he's been terrible.
No.
This year he's been. My point was in the past. He
Mike,
was
I want
average.
to commend you. I thought
Yeah.
that your 5-piece was spicy.
Yeah, it was good.
I got to be. It was great. Mike did an excellent job. But this Deshaun Watson news just hangs over everything.
Yeah.
No, it does.
It
Yeah,
really
it kind
does.
of casts a pall on all of our discussion.
Yeah.
Look at our first topic in our 12:30 show.
We have to change
is,
it.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
We're calling an audible. It can't be Watson versus
Right.
It's can the Browns win
Jackson.
with DTR at quarterback?
How do they win without him at quarterback? Because it seems to be Vegas always knows. Vegas has 5 Zach Jacksons.
Yeah.
And the fact that Vegas has moved the line that much in 20 minutes.
And to Bull's point, nothing moves the line like a quarterback.
You aren't
That's
kidding.
the only thing that really
Yeah,
moves
you
the
aren't
line.
kidding.
Yep.
Before we move over to KYC, and please, if you're watching, come join us on KYC. We got a couple super chats to read, and super chats are brought to us by PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions started at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got a couple of these today, guys. Cottonwood Slim says, my suggestion for the defensive line nickname, Hounds of War. Real quick, like it, don't.
You
All right, we're moving on.
It's got to come naturally.
Yeah,
by
that doesn't
something
feel,
that happens
that doesn't
or whatever.
feel good.
Professor Chaos says, G. Bush, you should make a couple Kool-Aid Mafia shirts or hoodies with the captain patch. Professor Chaos also says G. Bush looks like The Rock in the photo with a turtleneck and a chain.
That's
That's
true.
right.
That's a good call.
That's right.
I think that's the look he was going for.
Hey man, me and the chat been going back and forth all day. They've been killing me in there. I done had
Why?
No,
Killing you for your suit?
they funny. They be like, yo, you look like a deacon today.
If you smell
We got two more.
Can you
Daryl
raise
Perryman.
one eyebrow?
what the G is cooking.
Our guy Daryl says, pressure Kendrick Lamar at the middle all game. Contain
Kendrick
the edge
Lamar?
is key to victory. May the Schwartz be with us. UCSS rocks is gaining traction all over Cleveland. Love you guys, Daryl. Daryl, Dewan's brother. We love
Yeah.
you too, Daryl.
Yeah,
the guy,
Schwartz
the
be with
man,
you.
the
Super
myth, the
fan.
legend. He's going to do some promo stuff for us next week. I'm not kidding.
Good.
And Scott Jenkins says, if the Browns defense shuts down the Ravens with another masterpiece, we should crown them the factory of sackness.
Let me tell you something.
I like that.
If the-
Okay, now that one works.
I like
if,
that.
if the Browns win this game with DTR because of a dominant, outside of the unlikely scenario, the DTR plays a great.
You
like
gonna
a-
elevate them? You
No,
elevating them to where?
If they beat the Ravens, with the Ravens knowing that the Browns have a rookie making his first starting quarterback and nothing at running back, that would be miraculous job by the defense.
The Browns defense
that would move them up another level in my eyes.
if they hold their opponent to 3 points again,
Yeah.
we're not asking a quarterback to do much.
But they better hold them because the offense is going to struggle without.
Hey, DTR
It sucks because Watson just had his best game.
Hey, DTR gonna have some throws
I mean,
now.
okay,
He gonna have
fair.
some throws.
Yeah.
But Watson was terrible against Cincinnati, and they scored 24
That's
points.
true.
You're right. No,
And
you're
now
right.
they also had Nick Chubb.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
But there is a difference,
Of course.
with
I
teams
mean,
seeing Watson there and
yes.
seeing this guy
Yes.
there.
I mean,
yeah.
Do you want to
even if he
make the
struggles. If
crazy
you could turn him
statement
over-
that maybe Chubb's having surgery today, maybe he'll be ready by Sunday?
You never know with that guy.
it doesn't matter what you think.
that's
See you
crazy.
on TV.